Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Change is Key podcast. I'm the host, Shane Connolly, and my guest today is Dylan Slattery. Dylan, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it very much.
No worries. Thanks for coming on. So do you want to just take the chance to tell people a bit about yourself and your background?
So I'm 26 years of age and I'm from Leixip, and I was born in Dublin to a 19-year-old mother named Wendy. It was great. And Wendy's a successful entrepreneur now, and that's something that kind of seeped into me as a child, being around that, because she's always been driven, and it's kind of motivated me to be an entrepreneur now. But as a child, my biological father left when I was very young, and so I only had a mother, and I had a granny, and or what I like to call nanny. I know it's a bit strange, but some people call it nanny, some people call it granny. It is what it is.
Yeah,
And
that's heard of.
it's all women in my life, you know what I mean, growing
Yeah,
up to the age of 7. So there was that bit missing when I was very young. So that would have shaped me a little bit to who I am now, if you get me, how I treat women and respect women and stuff like that. After International Women's Day the other week.
yeah, it's a good call out.
Yeah.
And I think after like the Ashling Murphy case and stuff like that, lads have probably been a bit more kind of like, what can we do better? Or like, do you know, what can we, even things we say, what can we do differently? Do you know?
It's values. It's
Yeah,
all values.
yeah, definitely. So like you mentioned there about, the women in your life and not having a dad and stuff, like, how much did that like affect you when you were younger?
So when I was going to school, you'd have young kids talking about their dads bringing them here and their dads bringing them there, and oh, my dad's going to football training and whatever. But my mom was my dad, if you get me. So, but my mom was more than a dad. Do you know what I mean? She was able to give us, like, give me the opportunity to play football like all the other kids and have the same opportunity as everyone else. And she showed up and brought me to the training sessions, and she made me play harder than the other lads. And I wanted to play harder than the other lads because their dads were there. And I would have felt like, you know what I mean? I wanted to prove to their dads almost that I was better than them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like a competitiveness that started earlier on in my life.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was just thinking there of, like, myself, like when you were saying that, like, I mean, my dad uh coached and still does a lot of football. Like he um kind of takes a lot of pride in coaching football, like especially with some the younger kids and stuff. Um and I feel like mom probably didn't get the credit she deserves, in as in like
Yeah.
actually bringing us to training, because a lot of the time, because dad was the coach, he would go early to like set up stuff and all that kind of stuff. But mom would actually bring you, here, there, and everywhere. Like, so, like, she deserves credit too. Like, but like, so from my point of view, I had like obviously a dad, but but arguably like even more so in a way, because like, I mean, dad was like the popular one for everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he was the coach and stuff. Everyone just loved him and was like wanted to play for him and play well for him and all that sort of stuff. So I can imagine how like missing that can, would have affected you and stuff.
Yeah, certainly different.
Yeah. What about school then? Like, what was that like going through?
Going through school, I was always clued in. I was always smart. Like,
Mm.
I would say street smart, or like I was always wide to what was going on around me. But when someone was telling me to do something in school, I'd have a hard time convincing myself to do it, unless there was something at the end of it for me.
Mm.
Like how we are now. We're all like this now. And like, people don't do things unless there's something at the end of it, and you can't just do anything nowadays. And it was great when I was in school, and let's say there was a goal, like a maths. I was really good at maths as a child, and I still am now. And because I like doing it, I get a reward. I get some sort of relief or reward off figuring out problems and solving issues, and you can see it now. I'm still doing it, and we're always going to be doing it. But it was great having it as a child.
Yeah, like education is something that's come up in this podcast quite a bit so far, and I'm always just curious as to people who, and like this is not a judgment on people, but people by their own admission will just like not fit into the mainstream of school and stuff, of like I don't want to say normal, but like the normal in air quotes family dynamic, or like the being good at most subjects, if not all of them, or but I'm always curious as to like people's experiences of the subjects they struggled with and why they struggled with them, and did their teachers support them, or like what other supports could have been there. Like, what I mean? Do you feel like there's more support that maybe could have been there for like someone in your position?
Well, I believe everything definitely comes down to how you were taught. So if you have a good teacher, or you connect with that teacher, or you can understand how that teacher is trying to explain, I think it's a lot to do with the teachers. And see, when you're giving out to your parents about your results, it's I got a D. Oh no, I got a D, or whatever. Why? The reason why you would say that to your parents is because you're the teacher. You blame the teacher. You blame the teacher's not good. The teacher's not good, and they'd say, "Oh, would you stop? You need to put your head down, or you need to do this, or you need to do it." But like, it's a lot to do with how you're taught, and it's hard for teachers now. I'm not giving out at teachers now. I like teachers. They teach you a lot. They're great, but it is how you're taught. People learn differently, and you have to understand that as a teacher or a coach or any sort of person. Everyone's different, so everyone has to learn different. Everyone takes in information differently. Everyone processes information differently. It's the way life goes. So if you can understand that from an early age, you can move forward. Like, figure out how you learn. How do you learn? What works for you? Are you a listener? Are you a visual person? Are you whatever it is, sound or memory, or playing games to learn? But learning's very important, and it's a serious thing. If we don't learn from a young age all these things, we're going to have to learn them later on, and that puts you behind. So in order to get ahead, you should really start figuring out how you learn.
Like there's such a value in learning and continuing to learn, and to me it's not something that, yes, obviously you want to learn stuff at a young age, as you say, but it's not something that I think you learn so much and then, right, that's it, I'm done now, I'm learned now, like it's obviously there's value in continuing to add, like, strings to your bow and stuff. So like I can think about like mature students at my college, like in Maynooth, and at the age of like 18, 19, you're almost ignorant looking at that mature student who's like, say, in their 40s or something, thinking like, what are they doing here? Do you know what I mean? Like, did they, college is for like going out on the lash and stuff, like, they're in the wrong place. But obviously now, as when you're more mature, you can see that, like, okay, fair play to them for going back and maybe wanting to finish that degree they never got to finish, or didn't get to start in the first place, and now they're realizing it's not too late to kind of fill that gap.
Well, look, my stepfather now, who I met when I was 7 and we moved to Leixlip, when he went back to college when he was 65, after a 37-year career in aircom, like 37 years dedicated to aircom, who is now air. But he went back to learn accountancy. Like, it's something he always wanted to do, and out of nowhere he came into the room and told us all he's going back to college, and he's 63, I think he was, when he started the college. He finished when he's 65. We went to his graduation. Like, it's how you feel. Like, he feels young, and he's around the young people, and that kind of, you can see him as he's getting older, he's starting to act younger. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing to learn. And I don't think people do it enough because of college, or because of, like, they don't want to go to college or put in that time. There's other ways to learn. You can do fast learning, or YouTube's great, or there's loads of stuff where you can learn quick. All these courses are spread out on purpose.
Yeah, like And that's definitely true now. Like stuff is so accessible now. Like I mean, like even books, like if you find it hard to read an actual physical book, there's lots of people prefer like say reading an ebook or like listening to something on Audible, like, or there's loads of ways around stuff like that now, that we're lucky to kind of have,
I actually started an audio book club with my clients, with my life coaching clients, last week, and we're actually on one of the first books we started was "The Obstacle Is the Way" by Ryan Holiday. And do you know Ryan Holiday? You do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a stoic. He's like he studies in stoicism for anyone who doesn't know. And what stoicism is, it's like wisdom that with like from the 1,000 years ago, from Marcus Aurelius and all these great emperors and all these very smart men. And this is what they taught. They didn't go, like they did go to school, but a stoic was like the highest of the highest. They regarded like knowledge, like, and that's coming back with a vengeance right now. Like it's really popular, and anyone who doesn't know stoicism should really go look at stoicism if they're interested in learning or discovering things about themselves. Or but The Obstacle Is the Way, actually, for the audiobook is, it's very good.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't. I have it on my list. I have a lot of books on my list. But I'm actually reading the Daily Stoic at the moment.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah. And my intention was to read like that day's thought or whatever, and just like spread it out across the year, and like say read that thought in the morning and then read the next one the next morning. And I did that for about a week at like the beginning of the year. But then I just got really into it and just started tearing through. And I'm like, the book, and in the book, I'm in like, I don't know, August or something now.
Oh no.
So, but I'm kind of, I'll probably go back and read it again. I'm just so like kind of interested in it that I'm just, you know what I mean? Because I think with me, when I read, I find it hard to like put something down sometimes when I get really into it.
Yeah.
And I was also listening to Ryan Holiday on Jay Shetty's podcast not too long ago. And it's so interesting to hear him talk and stuff like, and anytime he puts up videos on Instagram and stuff, I always watch them. Like, because I read, I had heard him talking about Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and like knew who he was, Marcus. I had heard the name and stuff, but didn't really know much about like stoicism or anything like that, and picked up the book for like €3. It was one of those classics that are like all €3, and was like, it's surely worth a read. And that was another one where I just kind of went through it, and it's so interesting. Like that stuff from so long ago is still so relevant now.
Yeah, of course. And it always will be relevant because it's wisdom. It's from the mind. It comes from the mind, and the mind will always be the way the mind is. So if you read something that's written years ago by someone and it relates to you now, like 1,000 year different gap, that's 1,000 year gap. And all to see the Daily Stoic there, that's 1,000 years. It's a long time ago and it's relevant now. Like I don't think people realize the impact of that. Like something that's wrote last week or 100 years ago, it's forgotten about. It's just irrelevant. 1,000 years ago, they were onto something. 100%. And CJ Shetty.
Sorry, go on.
Jay Shetty says everything in life happens according to our time, our clock. Do you understand that?
Well, what's your interpretation of it?
Like everything in life happens according to our time. So like when we choose to learn or when we choose to make a move or make a choice, or it's on us, our time. It's when we choose.
Yeah, because like he talks and writes so much about the power of kind of your own thoughts and stuff, and obviously any actions or whatever or lack of action always has thought behind it. His book was another one I read, which was really good. Like I started getting into meditation, or tried unsuccessfully to like make a habit of it, until I read his book and started to understand that, because I was putting a lot of pressure on myself of like, I'm not doing it well, or like other people can do it better than me and all that kind of stuff. And I can't sit still for long enough and stuff. And then when I read his book, Think Like a Monk, and he started explaining the different techniques, first of all, because before that, it was like, you just meditate or you don't, I didn't realize like there was loads of techniques.
Yeah.
This is about a year ago, maybe. And so I started to see like different techniques and stuff. And there's like a 16-second one you can start off with, so
Wow.
I mean, so I was like, right, if I can't do the 16-second one, it's not for me. so I started doing that one, got into it, and built it up then to like, because that's another thing I would try to start off at the very beginning, doing say like 10 minutes, and would inevitably fail, and then like criticize myself. So I started off really, really basic and built it up now to say like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. So that's become a really good habit for me.
The same.
Yeah.
That's the same. Yeah. I started off small as well, just like you. I don't think it's possible to just jump straight in and consistently keep it that way. Like it doesn't work like that. Nothing really works like that. You have to start small and build up.
Yeah.
Form the habit stacking.
Yeah, that's another one. Atomic Habits. I have that on my shelf as well. James Clear. Have you read that?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So interesting the way the habit works. Like it's like, see, when you have a habit, you don't realize it's what it is. But once you break it down to the four main elements, I think that he talks about in his book are the cue, the craving, the response, and then the reward. So if you're a smoker, the cue might be looking at a TV and seeing someone smoking on the TV, and then the craving would start, which would be that urge, and then the response would be to get a cigarette or not to get a cigarette. And then the reward would be the nicotine hit, or the fact that you didn't do the nicotine hit. So that's one way of looking at things.
Yeah, like I read, must be a year and a half ago, maybe now. I read The Power of Habit. I can't remember the author now of that one, but that he talks about a similar thing where it's like it's cue, habit, reward. It's a 3 like step or whatever thing for him. So I really wanted to get back into running. I hadn't been doing it for a while at this point. And I'd be like, I keep putting it off and be like, I look for any excuse like, it's a bit cold or, whatever. But I read that and I was like, took the cue, habit, reward thing and was like, how can I use that like for running? So the cue would be, because like I've always kind of been, pretty much fit, like, so the cue would be like almost something somewhere in me is going like I should be fitter than I am, and I'm like, doing myself a disservice or whatever. The habit then is like running itself, and then just the reward was like, like it's not going to feel great when you start doing it, but it'll feel great afterwards. And that kind of like nice soreness that you get. So it's amazing how you can use something like that in your favor and build a habit and just turn your mindset to something where, so now like that's maybe like a year and a half ago now, like I'll just step out the door, no problem, and don't think about it. And, you just get the reward after, like.
Yeah. 100%. See, when you make that choice to do something like that, and understand the reasons for the reward, and you understand what's going to happen, what like visualizing what you're going to feel like, that's the trick, I think, to visualization or manifesting, is the feelings that you're going to get after you do this thing or whatever it is that you want to do. It's definitely the feelings that you have after them that you should attach your manifestation onto. When you're going for a longer run, or seeing people who do marathons and stuff like that, they always visualize and how they're going to feel when they complete that feeling, when they cross that line. And that's very important. And it's like anything really, like everything kind of ties back into the same things. It's always about how you're going to feel after you do it, and the choices we make are dictated to how we're going to feel. It's how we're going to feel, what our emotions will be. Will we like that emotion? It's so interesting. It's all very interesting, and it's becoming more popular. I think this decade, 2020 to 2030 is
Mm.
definitely the year of the mind.
Yeah, I think you're right. I see so much stuff about this kind of stuff on Instagram now, and like all across social media. Like my Spotify now is full of podcasts that talk about this kind of stuff, meditation and journaling and good habits and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like if you said to me, 2-3 years ago, that's what my Spotify would be full of, I'd be like, what kind of person have I turned into? Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Where's all the music? Like I barely listen to music on Spotify. But it's amazing how your view of this stuff can change. COVID probably did that a favor in a way, in terms of like lockdowns, and like I've nothing to do for a lot of people. So what can I get into? Or especially the first lockdown, it was like people making jigsaws and painting their fence.
Yeah.
What kind of, do you know what I mean? I need something, like I need a new hobby, or I need something to get into. That probably, I'd say, kickstarted that for a lot of people.
Yeah, 100%. Lockdown was tough on a lot of people,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how, because
definitely.
it made them realize what they couldn't do. They were restricted, so they were left to sit in their own thoughts for a little bit, and that's scary at times for people who aren't used to it. I know that very well.
Yeah, for sure. So just on that, let's go back a bit to your own kind of background and stuff. Um, so I saw well, you had sent me your Instagram, I don't know what to call it, story or whatever. Well, it is your,
Synopsis.
yeah,
Yeah,
synopsis, that's the word. Um,
yeah,
and like there's loads of interesting stuff in there. One of the things was like, I mean, obviously you have a lot about your like mentality and stuff. Um,
yeah,
so like you kind of ask yourself questions in that of like, for example, had I done something wrong about um like not having a dad or whatever, or like, and obviously it was a um low vibration you were in, let's say that, to borrow another kind of term of what we were talking about there. What was that like, having that kind of mindset and going through that?
yeah. Having no father.
Yeah, and just like your thoughts around that time.
Well, at that time when I was young, it was difficult. But as I grew up and my mother found John, who's my stepdad, who I consider my real father. Do you know what I mean? I know him since I'm very young, and he came with two brothers. He had two sons, so which gave me two stepbrothers who are my brothers. Do you know what I mean? That's how
Mm.
families are these days. We all just come together, and without them two brothers in my life and John, I would definitely be a lost cause. 100%. I know that for a fact. Because they showed me how men should be. I've seen that side, and how, like, John's an example. He's the chairman of Comfy Guy. He was for years, and he went back to college. As I said, he's just a great role model, and he's just level-headed and calm. And then you have the likes of David, who's an athlete. He played with Kildare hurling and football, and has his own gym, Escape Studios. The two has one in Clontarf and one in Leixlip, and they're without Escape Studios, I probably wouldn't be here today, believe it or not, because
That's
I had a bad drug addiction
mm,
years ago, which I know that you wanted to get onto. But and when I was going through this process, this thing that most young people go through nowadays, it's normal. It's getting very more and more normal. And when I was going through all this, if it wasn't for David invite me up to one session in Escape, then I wouldn't be here talking about this right now with you. It would be different. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
it's interesting. And then you have Luke, who's like, Luke changed his life as well. Luke would have had a similar kind of, he liked the party scene, and then he was always out and stuff. And then he turned it around. You know what I mean? And so same with David. Everyone kind of turns it around. And having them figures in my life, watching people turn it around. So when I was going through this time of just every weekend partying, and during the week, it rolled on during the week then, and it was a horrible time, but I learned so much from going through that darkness and seeing and then reading all these other people's stories that brought me back to life almost.
Yeah, like it's amazing. It's like, it sounds really powerful as well when you put it like that. And one thing I thought of when you were saying that there was I find myself watching a lot of videos and TED Talks and stuff after I went through a breakup last year from a long-term relationship. I was trying to like find videos basically that would tell me like that it's not the end, if that makes sense, that it's there's still stuff to be done and stuff that can be achieved and stuff. And I remember watching one video that was like not a TED Talk, but one of these kind of things where like it's live on stage, somebody is talking and the audience was asking questions, and someone stood up and said he had just been through a breakup, and like his ex didn't want to continue the relationship, blah blah blah, and he was really low, you could tell from like his body language and stuff, and the guy doing the talk was kind of like, but that's great though. And your mom was like, why? Like, I'm in an awful place. Like, your mom was like, because you don't realize now, but you will in time, that you're going to come out of this like a much, well, obviously different, but a much better person. Because like, he was like the guy that has been through this experience and will come out the other side of it. That's the person I want to meet, because he's going to be really interesting, and he is going to have a story to tell, and he is going to be able to say, I've come through this and I've now made these habits and all that kind of stuff. And when he framed it like that, it was kind of like, that's a great way to think about
it. That's powerful stuff. Wow.
So I'm sure that guy took that away and was like, yeah, that's the way to think about that now. That's the way I can put that into action. And it also made me think of Philly McMahon, who talked about, I saw him on a couple of podcasts and stuff, talking about his brother. He lost his brother to addiction, and he always talks about that being his halftime, which is also a great way to like think about something like that and sort of use it as like nearly a positive almost, and be like, right, that's my half. And he says everyone has one. This is his kind of theory. Like, everyone has a halftime, something that happens that brings you to a standstill basically, and makes you look at, what have I been doing up to now, and why have I been doing it, and can I do it better? So that was it for him. And it was like, right now in the second half, this is what I want to do. And that's when he started kind of I think he has a campaign for helping people with addiction and stuff like that, and started looking at like, what can I do, what kind of difference can I make, and how can I use that experience that has floored me to now make my own life better and other people's lives better as well.
Fair play to him. That's brilliant. Yeah. See people like Philly McMahon and people that want to help people and want to, like, a lot of people struggle, but a lot of people have gone through this and just they don't know how to express themselves, or don't know how to explain how they got through things. It's people who are self-aware and conscious of all the pain and all the suffering that they're going through. They're the people that are able to share these stories much clearer and much easier. And I think the worse the pain, the better the stories. Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah.
And see, when you come back to see, when you talked about breakup and relationships and going through that trouble, and there's a thing called the chimp, the human, and the computer, the three parts of the brain. I think I seen it on Stephen Bartlett's podcast, and it was very interesting because the chimp wants to mate, and the human has like normal responses like stop, go, and then the computer is all the stuff that's been programmed into you from a young age or whatever that makes you do certain things. So it's getting all them three together to be able to get past these things faster and smoother and quicker, and it's understanding of the brain, how it works, and why we feel sad, why we feel like we're hurt, why we feel like there's something missing.
Yeah, and it's so intricate, like and there's so much to it that we don't know. Like, I mean, as I am studying to become a life coach, like there's a good deal of what we're learning is around like neuroscience and the brain, like, I mean, I remember going to one of or probably our first class, and our instructor telling us that kind of putting it like, how many brains do you think you have? And everyone kind of going, one, obviously. And she's like, no, you've actually got three. And everyone was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you've got your actual brain in your head, and then your heart brain and your gut brain.
Yeah.
And they all do different things, and take things in differently, and want different things and stuff. But if you can get the three of them working together, then that's how you'll like become the best version of yourself. So your head brain is like, it might be like, how you make decisions or how you get stuff done. Your heart brain could be like what you, value in terms of compassion or relationships with people or stuff like that. And then your gut brain would be like what's at your core, like what's most important to you. So if you get those three working in sync, it's basically to get your values aligned to your behavior. Because obviously if you value X, Y, Z, but you're not putting it into action, you're out of sync. And it made so much sense then when she explained it like that, because I was like, I've been there where you want something and you know why you want it, you just aren't doing it, or you're not putting it into action. But then when you connect all that, you're on track then to do what you want to do.
Exactly. That's brilliant. How long are you studying the life coaching?
Started late September 2021, so I'll be finished in about a month now.
And what was it for you that made you want to be a life coach?
Well, funny enough, after I went through my breakup last year, it's just over a year ago now, it was the end of February 2021, and I went to, at that stage I was and this is part of my interest actually in like addiction and stuff, because I studied criminology before and was working at the time as a tutor and research assistant in criminology. Nice. But I started to like feel like it maybe wasn't the path for me, or like I think it wasn't even the subject itself, it was more I think academia, because it was like so like cutthroat, and like very little money in it to get funding for like a PhD, say, and stuff like that. So I was thinking about it, like, will I go to England, maybe see if there's an opportunity there, but I wasn't sure if I wanted that. So I found myself kind of stuck with all that stuff. Then the breakup happened and I was like, now I'm really lost. And then so I went to see a life coach. I looked up life coaching. I didn't know basically anything about it, but I was like, I just looked it up, read about it. I was like, that could be someone that this could be something that I could benefit from. And it was a website where you basically like you answered a few questions to narrow it down to what like kind of life coach you would want to be coached by. So like my stuff was about like just coming out of the breakup, and then questions about career. So I like clicked submit or whatever on the questionnaire thing you did, and then straight away I remember thinking like, what am I doing? Like, I do, how is this going to benefit me? Like, what, but then my phone rang a couple of days later, and Marion, the woman who ended up coaching me, she's so nice, and she said on the phone like, oh look, because I said to her like, I'm not sure if I want to do it. She was like, that's normal and whatever, like, and we'll just have a chat, like, and stuff. And she did like a kind of quick chat with me on it was basically kind of a consultation on the phone, and made me see like how I could benefit from it. So I did 3 sessions with her, and it was unreal, like the change in thought and how much I took away from it. And like so much so that I went back to her and was like, because she would kind of check up on me, like, and I'm still in touch with her now, like, and she'd be like, how are you getting on and stuff, and I'd be like, great. And I'd be like, how do I do this myself, actually, because I think I want to do it, because as I said to you there, like I was stuck kind of with my career and stuff, and I was like, I just love the effect she had on me, and was like, it'd be great if I could do that for other people. And then I was kind of expecting her to say like, oh, I don't know, like, you might need like, I don't know, more life experience or something, like, or like it's a long, hard road, or I don't know, for some reason I was expecting her to like not encourage me to go for it, but she was really encouraging, and was like, yeah, no, definitely go for it. And kind of turned me on to the course that she did. which is the one I'm doing now. And yeah, like as I've got further along, like I'm just like, yeah, I know this is for me, like to, like you know, to help people and stuff and make a difference, and kind of put what I've learned into other people's hands, basically.
It's so interesting because all the life coaches I've talked to, it's always been from some sort of root, deep pain that they've overcome that was made them be a life coach. And like you, similar to me, it was pain as well. It was actually the passing of my nanny, who was my best friend. She would have been like very similar to me, talked the same, even though she was older. Like she would have made me lunch from school, and we would have had this bond. Like it was a real funny kind of humorous bond, and we'd always be seen together, like Laurel and Hardy kind of job. And when she passed away, it was a strange one because she was happy to go. Do you know what I mean? Because she lived by herself, and she was all she had was us, and she had a dementia, and she was kind of wearing away a bit. And it was the middle of COVID, and we couldn't go in and see her, and it was a sad time. And I remember being so sad the whole process. But when she died, it was actually such a nice moment. We got to see her in the last few seconds of her death, and it was nice. And it was at that moment I wasn't afraid of death anymore. She made me not afraid of death. And then I started thinking, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Like, because it's we don't know how long we have, so I may as well do something good. And it wasn't until like nearly a year after she died when I was just start seeing things that remind me of her, and it was on repeat, on repeat. All these things remind me of her constantly. And one night I went to sleep. Okay, this is gonna sound a bit mad, but this is what happened, or what I seen, so I went to sleep at 12 o'clock at night. And I remember waking up, and it was around 1 o'clock, maybe an hour, and all the lights were off in the room, and pitch black. And I looked up at the roof, and it was kind of like white, tiny little speckled dots, not like stars, but like really small dots, like faint. You have to kind of squint to see them. And it was such an interesting thing. And I don't know what had come, and I just started crying. I don't know how. I haven't cried in a long time. And I bawled my eyes out for about 10 minutes, and I felt amazing. And I was like, okay, she's watching me. Like she's gonna give out to me if I don't do good. Like I need to prove to her that I am going to, you know what I mean, try make a change to the world, try make it a better place as much as I can. And my way of doing it was choosing the life coaching path to help people that will struggle through the same stuff as I did. And it's like you, that's what you're going to do as well. It's such a nice thing to do, and it's such a good career, and it's such a good thing to have, and for your family and stuff like that. You're able to deal with people a lot easier, and it's much nicer.
Yeah, it's, and it doesn't surprise me when you say that most of the life coaches you talk to have come from that kind of place or that kind of experience and then turned it into something positive, because there's so much power in that. And it's, as you say, it's a great thing to do. Like, I mean, I even found myself thinking recently about a friend of mine from home, from Cavan, who died at the age of 18 in 2013, from diabetes. Like, and it was so shocking. Like, he had gotten the points to do. He had started teaching in Marino, I think it was. Really, really clever, like really smart. And like I just found myself thinking recently back to talking to him at school, about how much he was looking forward to it and what he was the kind of teacher he was going to be. You could just tell it would suit him and stuff, and like the difference he would have made and stuff. So I found myself thinking that recently, like having that sort of memory of him with what I'm doing, as in just the literal making a difference to people or helping people or whatever. So, you know, and I've talked to a few life coaches, who, I mean, people who listen to this will remember Johnny Harkin on one of the episodes. He's a mindset coach. He's living in Dubai at the moment, and he's brilliant what he does. I actually did a 30-day challenge with him at the beginning of the year, where you had to like tick 6 challenges off each day for 30 days. So it was like no smoking or drinking, no eating junk food, read a chapter of a book a day, some kind of exercise every day, that kind of stuff. You had to take, and he created a group chat, and you had to throw in like your 6 ticks at the end of each day to show you'd done it.
Yeah.
And I think he allowed you like a couple of strikes or whatever, but obviously it was about your own accountability and your own like sense of honesty. But I found it just really, I found myself, I kept thinking like, don't be one of those like who says they've done it. Like, look at me, I'm 20 days into it and I'm still doing it. But actually you're not doing it in reality. Do you know what I mean? Because like no one's going to give out to you, or because they don't know what you're doing. They can't see it. No one's going to be like, oh, you said you did it and you didn't, you lied. It's obviously just for yourself, like for your own benefit. So to get to the end of that with him and do it was amazing. And like he was so kind of encouraging about it as well. Like, and even when you said to him like, oh, thanks for letting us do that or whatever, he's like, no, it's you. Like, it's, it's your mindset and you're the one that did it and all, like that was great.
That's very important. Like most people should have a morning routine where they should tick off 6 things that they like to do in the space of an hour. Get up earlier, do them 6 things, feel good, go at your day. You know what I mean? Why not? Like if something makes you feel good, why not do it? Like I like to exercise. Like, so why not exercise 2 times a day? I know people say it's too much, but I get up and what's exercise? It can be 10 push-ups in the morning and it can be 10 push-ups in the evening. Start small, build up from there. That's how you start exercise. You don't go straight to the gym and like pounce around looking at weights and all. It doesn't work like that. Start small. People don't realize that. And that's like Johnny setting up that 30-day trial for people. Wasn't for, you're saying thanks to him, but he's doing that for you. Like he wants you to feel good. And like what I'm doing with my clients, I do a Sunday service where every second Sunday I go and I bring them up a hike. We all go up a hike and it's growing, and everyone's welcome to this Sunday service. It's on the Instagram and anyone can come. And what we do is we go and we have some music and we have some water and a bit of snacks, and we hit a mountain and we all just chat the whole way up the mountain and have a laugh, and people can do whatever they want and take pictures, and it's an enjoyable time on a Sunday every second week. Do you know what I mean? Not every week. And they feel good. Everyone feels good. It's impossible not to feel good in nature, and everyone in bonding together and laughing and sharing a good time. It's important. And people always thank me for that. Oh, fair play to you for doing this. Fair play to you. I'm not doing this for me. You know what I mean? I'm doing it for you. I want you to feel good. I want everyone to feel how we should all feel. And it's important that people realize that they should feel good. It's very important.
Yeah, because that's the thing, like with what you do and like what Johnny did for us in that 30-day challenge was one of the things that I thought after was like, like, I mean, he didn't make me do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, my cousin actually gave me his he has a Facebook group which is where I found out about that challenge. And so my cousin sent me, I think, the link to it or whatever. And but I voluntarily went and looked at the group and then in the group saw him post about this challenge and was like, oh, that sounds good. I think I might like to do that. He didn't like, ring me and say like, you have to do it. I expect you there. So it obviously comes from a place of wanting to do it and knowing that the benefits will stand to you. And even he said, he created a WhatsApp group for anyone who did the 30-day thing, and wrote into it and was like, I mean, drop out obviously if you want to or need to, or message me privately if you need a bit of more encouragement or whatever. Like, so the power was completely up to the person doing it, so anyone that come out the other side of it, like me, was like, oh, thanks, but like he was like, no, for sure, you did it. Like, I didn't do it. I just set up a WhatsApp group. You're the one that actually went and achieved it. Yeah. But thanks, Johnny, all the same. But I was going to ask you there, you were talking about your clients and stuff. I was just going to ask you about, because one of the things that was most interesting about studying criminology was, um, uh, a couple of people have said this to me as well, that I have this kind of sympathy for maybe people like that maybe other people don't have, or like can somehow like see it from their point of view or see how hard that must be or whatever, or as opposed to like, because some people might just be like kind of out of sight out of mind, or that hasn't affected me so I don't need to worry about it. But then I found from studying it, and people would ask you what it's like studying it or what are you studying, and you'd say a lot of it would be around like addiction and should drug use be legalized or not and all that kind of stuff. And I found 99% of people would find it really interesting and say like, oh, that sounds really interesting and all. And a lot of people would say like it should be maybe not legalized but not criminalized either, and it is pointless to have these people in and out of jail all the time and stuff like that.
It is. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's a waste of resources and everything else, like, and so I always found it interesting reading stories or reading like articles about that kind of stuff of like, why are we doing this or why are we punishing that when clearly the person needs support and needs like rehabilitation and stuff, rather than, because what use is to anyone for them to go in for like 6 months back out, in for 12 months back out. That's just an endless cycle, so I was always interested then in like how they broke that cycle, or how they kind of it's very much, I think, like the system would chew them up and spit them out. And I was always interested in like when they land out of prison or whatever, how did they kind of survive that, like, or how did they turn that around or whatever. So like, I mean, when you tell your story coming from that sort of like addiction and stuff, do you find like, I hope most people are kind of like that in terms of like being kind of positive and supportive about, where you've come from and stuff?
100%. I don't think it's anyone's fault. You know what I mean? People blame them, and society has a bad look on people who come out of prison or suffer from addiction, and that's wrong, because it roots back to your childhood and where you came from, and it's little small tiny decisions you made that twisted your whole life. Do you know what I mean? They're really small, and it's because of that tiny decision you're blamed, like, for things, or you're looked bad or down upon, but like drugs, they're not, if they're used wrong, you're gonna end up in prison. Like, you are, like, that's how it will go. Like, so people just need to realize that, like, drug addicts are people too. Like, they are people too, and they need help just as much as you might need help in your brain. So I just sad to see people in town, like the homeless people. I help the homeless every Thursday night, and it's sad. It's very sad to watch homeless Irish people just sitting in doorways, sleeping, and no help, no aid, no one going to the root cause of why this happened and trying to turn it around for them, help them think differently about themselves, because all they think about themselves as is a drug addict, because that's all they're being called. You know what I mean? It's and if you're called something so many times, which we're told not to do in school, then you're going to think it. You know what I mean? It's bullying almost. So drug addicts need help just like the rest of us.
And even like, I mean, at the very start we were talking about, you mentioned International Women's Day there, and like, as I said, like for me and some of the lads I know and stuff, you start to think about like maybe some of the language you use, or like jokes you make or whatever it is, and that's something that I think about in this case too, is like, the J word, the word I'm talking about, I don't want to use it, because that's something for me, like, I'm guilty of it as much as anyone, of like, when it comes to drug addicts, like,
junkie.
Yeah, but I'm like even conscious of using it with you, because I'm like, I shouldn't use it, or like I don't know what
I'm
it's.
not a junkie, man.
No, but you know what I mean. Like I'm like,
I
you shouldn't use it, or like, because you don't know. It's just, to me, I don't know. It's just ignorant. Like, you don't know what connotation that has for that person. You don't know how they'll take it. You don't know whether that'll set off a whole kind of, negative mindset or whatever. Like,
but that's all how you perceive what people say as well. You know what I mean? Like if someone's calling you names, you also have the power to block out this noise. You know, you
Mm,
don't have to listen to what people are saying. You can stay in your own mind, know who you are, block out that nonsense that what people are saying, and then people won't affect you as much.
mm,
Don't listen to people. Listen to yourself. Trust your gut, as you said. Trust
yeah.
your gut. Just keep going, doing what you're doing. Ignore all the other noise. It's irrelevant because it doesn't impact you the same way. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just keep keeping on. Don't be listening to what people are calling.
Yeah, no, I'm like caught in the middle of, like, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, no, I only I'm only worried about myself and what I'm doing. But then when it comes to other people, I'm like, I don't want to say that because it might annoy someone. So, but
No.
yeah, it goes both ways. Um, so do you want to talk a bit about, like, you mentioned your clients again there, and like the doing, hikes and stuff. I'm interested to see what it was like when you got to the point of setting up your business and stuff like that. What was that like?
It was an interesting decision. It was because I knew I wanted to help people. And once I got into the coaching side of things, I learned off three guys, and they were super good and super intense course, and very full on. And these guys, just the way they operate, they can make you feel a certain way, and I felt that I wanted to do this forever, and I wanted to grow this into something big, slowly, just like we talked about the exercise. You start off with 10 push-ups and you work your way up. It's the same with life coaching. You start off slowly and you just kind of ride this upward curve, and it's slow and it's enjoyable. Enjoy the slowness, because I'm sure when it gets super busy, or come up with super like new ideas or new ventures or new things that you want to do, it's going to get faster. So I'd say when you're starting the business, really enjoy the struggles and really enjoy figuring out who the people are that you want to coach, because that's the most important one. Because
Mm.
who are they people like you? Are they people like me? Are they people like someone watching or someone listening or whatever it is? Or you know what I mean? It's important to think about all these things properly. And when I was starting the business, I didn't really think. I just thought, okay, let's go start. Let's just help everybody. Woohoo! And I launched it, and I was like, why is nobody? Because I'm no, why is nobody coming to me? Because I wasn't targeting anybody in
Mm.
particular. And then I realized I need to help me. I need to help the person I was 3 or 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 6 years ago. All them people that, you know what I mean, before I made that decision to change my life around. I need to help them, to show them how I can change their lives to be a good life, or find their purpose, or whatever it is that they want to do. Because everyone's purpose is different. And once you tap into someone's likes and hobbies and interests and all that sort of stuff, you can see clearly what they should be doing. It's like the lights go off. It's a great moment. I love it. Every time it happens, it's just like wow. And then you point them in that direction, go, oh, do you ever think of this? And it's like, whoa. And then they kind of answer they answer the questions that you're giving them, and it kind of leads them into discovering it themselves in their own brain. It's amazing.
Yeah, because that's the thing, like, that's always stressed to us in class, is like, a coach doesn't show up and give you all the answers.
No.
You have them already as a client. And I think back to when I was coached by Marion, the woman I mentioned earlier. Um, and like, I still have the notes I took from those 3 sessions with her, and it was all like, yeah, I knew that, or I didn't realize I knew it, but now I do. Or like, it was just her asking me questions, and like, me thinking about, well, oh yeah, actually, why do I want to do that, or how can I do this better? It was, she's just like gently like prodding me, and I had the answer. So that, yeah. So that's the
Twisting the
thing.
key.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the when they in my class, the instructors put up like PowerPoint presentations and stuff. They throw in like some of these, inspirational quotes sometimes. But one of the best ones, the one that speaks to what we're talking about, is from Michelangelo, where he talks about sculpture already being there in the marble block, and you just chip away at the marble block and the sculpture's there.
Yeah.
You're not creating it from scratch, it's already there. It's just like a matter of uncovering it, which is kind of, you know, really powerful again.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's strong. That's strong. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. If you can visualize that in your mind, you can kind of picture yourself. It's like we are Michelangelo. It's like we can mold ourselves into whoever it is that we want to be. It's very powerful. That's very
Yeah.
strong. I've never heard that before. That's great.
Yeah. That's one that stuck with me now anyway. So just conscious of time now, I think. So, you know, in terms of your business and stuff, if people want to go to you or like find you on social media and stuff like that, whereabouts can they find you?
People can find me at the Mindset Magician on Instagram, at the Mindset Magician on Instagram. Shoot me a message, or there's a booking link, or book in a breakthrough session in my you can see it in the link below on the bio, and come have a chat. You know, it's only a chat, and let's see what we can do and see where we can go, and let's see who you are. Let's get the Michelangelo out.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll put your link anyway in the description of the episode, so people can see it. So what about future plans for you? What's on the horizon?
Oh, well, my future plans are I want to be in Bali or somewhere like Indonesia in the next year or so, and I want to be helping more people. I want to be able to spread the branches, or because it's people is number one, and I want to help as much people as I can. And like you probably do as well, but it's you can only help a certain amount of people as one person. So I want to build a team and progress forward into creating an online program and push on from there, and really, really, really help people the best I can, whatever it is, homeless people, women, charity, you name it. I just want the world to be a better place, and I'm trying my best. It's hard because it pushes back at you, but he will keep trying until we die.
Yeah, for sure. And like that, it definitely will be better if, you know, you keep going the way you are. Like, it's obviously you're making a huge difference to people. And I think uh part of the reason for getting you on was, like, I mean, not only to talk about all the stuff we've talked about in terms of coaching and like stoicism and all that kind of stuff, which is really interesting. But I think I mean, like, I think hats off for being coming through what you've come through, and being able to talk about it where, you know, like in such a kind of open way and stuff. I think it's great. I think it's amazing to see.
Yeah, thanks.
Um,
You too. You
um,
too.
so yeah, for people listening, be sure to visit Dylan's page, and you'll definitely learn something off him. And so Dylan, thanks for doing this.
Cheers. Thank you, Shane.